Billy, before we get to the game, news broke during the game that Lonzo Ball is going to be back on an extension. You've said many times what he has meant to this team and this organization. What are your thoughts about him being back next season?
No, I think it's great. I'm excited for him because of the journey he's had, to get back in between the lines and playing, and obviously give all the medical people a ton of credit of helping him get to that point. And, I think he really always has felt pretty good about his situation here in Chicago, which I think is great. And I think he's been a great inspiration to a lot of us. And I'm just happy that he's in between the lines playing, and he's got an opportunity to continue doing that, which is great.
We've talked a lot over the last couple of days about the concept of a rebuild or whatever kind of you guys have coming next. Where does Lonzo fit into that, both on the court and kind of just in the locker room as a leader?
Yeah, Arturas and I spoke about it before we left, that he thought there would probably be some kind of conversations with his representation. So, when we spoke about it, I think we both were on the same page about how we felt about Lonzo. One, his leadership, I think. Two, his feel for the game, his competitiveness, the way he gets himself ready. We'll see where it goes with the minutes, as it relates to how he handles the 28. If that's still he can still maintain that. So we felt like he was an important piece to that. In terms of helping people, he's got a great IQ. He knows how to play, and I think anytime you get a point guard that's got that kind of IQ, he makes people around him better. From the first time he got here when he was playing, he's talking a lot more now, which is a good thing for our group.
Was that the fastest timeout you've ever called?
I think I told Dan Craig that, and I think it was 26 seconds maybe? Was it 26 seconds? I thought it was like 11:34 on the clock. Yeah, I can't imagine I called a quicker one.
How do you feel about calling the quickest timeout in your career?
Well, I think it was either 4 or 5 offensive rebounds on one possession. And then all we talked about, well, I shouldn't say all we talked about, but a good portion of what we talked about this morning was their size playing two bigs and us being able to block out. Okay, 1, it's fine. 4, we've got to be better. And really, ultimately, that first possession, I give our guys a lot of credit. We fought to get back in the game because we really dug ourselves a hole, took the lead down by 2 at the half. But inevitably, the first possession is what really did us in tonight, because I think they had 35 points on second chance opportunities, right? So I give our guys credit for getting back in the game, but we didn't sustain it long enough in terms of giving ourselves a better chance to be more competitive in the game because of our inability to rebound.
One other thing related to that, obviously the second chance points you just mentioned, and it's been an issue in previous games, last few weeks when you've lost games. But, sort of the catch-22 there, you play a lot of guards all the time. How could you expect to have, good results? You get them sometimes, but it's pretty hard to have good results in second chance points when you're playing guards against bigs so often.
Yeah, I don't. That does happen sometimes. But if you look at the number of shots, how many shots did they take? Total shots.
98.
And probably almost close to half of it was threes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is no rebounds for our big men to get. Because most times when guys are shooting threes, it's the long rebounds. That's where we're really getting hurt, quite honestly, is when the shot goes up, our people on the perimeter run into the basket, and they get too deep. And now, listen, there was plenty where we were in rotation and Gobert was tipping around that happened. I don't want to act like it was all three-point shots. Those are the ones we may have a hard time overcoming, but we've got to be better in those situations when threes are coming up, because almost to a point, and we've talked about the number of threes and the way they've gone up, almost half of teams' shots, 40 to 50% of every team's shots are threes. So, it's probably a shot you're probably not going to shoot at the same rate as the rim. So chances are there's going to be more of those coming off. And really the game has turned out to be a 5-man rebounding game. It used to be a game where everything was played closest to the basket. It was more physical. You had your quote-unquote traditional power forward and your center and your small forward, and those guys really kind of cleaned up the front line, the rebounding. But the game has changed with the way it's changed stylistically, offensively, that it's become a 5-man rebounding situation. You look at the free throw line situation, the block out there, that I don't think that had anything to do with, size on size. And I know I took Vooch off, but it was Anthony Edwards. We have someone that can physically, height-wise, strength-wise, can match up with him. And to your point, Sam, I do agree. There was somewhere we were oversized and overmatched.
Billy, you went with Modest in the starting lineup. Two-part question. How did you think he handled that? And this pretty much solidifies Patrick coming off the bench, doesn't it?
Yeah, for right now, I think Patrick's played really well. Here was my thought. I know we talk a lot about the development piece, of young players, but here was my thought. Here's a guy that has an unbelievable career night last night in terms of 10 for 10, 20, all that stuff. And I always try to look at it through the lens of, okay, if the ball didn't go in the basket, how did he play, right? I think the lesson for him in putting him in the starting lineup was, one, can he flush last night? Can he move into preparation and getting ready? And now can he actually guard a guy like Naz Reid, and who's played exceptionally well since Julius Randle's been out right away? Like, the thing about the NBA, I think, for a lot of these guys is what happened the night before is very short-lived, so just enjoy it, but you got to be able to mentally move forward. And I actually thought he handled himself well. But you always have Patrick or Julian there if he didn't. And I thought Modest was fine. But that was my reason for starting him. I thought it was a growth opportunity for him to say, okay, can you go from last night and now we're down some people, and can you go in there and help us? And I thought he was fine. He didn't shoot it obviously as well as he did last night, but he was fine.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, yep, thank you.